Remember when Angel was at LSU and she trolled Caitlin Clark and was following her around the court and smiling and doing the old this? Well, now there's this, Angel. Chicken's coming home to roost. Pardon the impoliteness. I have a new nickname for Angel Reese. Butter. As in, butt her face. Butt her face. Great legs, great butt, great skin, and then the face. In Angel's case, it's...
There are moments in sports that stop time completely, not because of what was accomplished, but because of what collapsed. What happened on that hardwood was not a basketball game anymore. It was a public execution of pride, broadcast in crystal clear high definition in front of 20,000 screaming witnesses and millions more watching from home. By the time the final buzzer sounded, the arena was not celebrating a victory. They were laughing. Openly, loudly, and without a single ounce of mercy. And standing at the center of it all, completely unbothered and utterly unapologetic, was Caitlin Clark, pointing, laughing, and making absolutely sure Angel Reese felt every single second of it. This was not just a game, this was a statement, and the sports world has not stopped talking about it since. But to truly understand how this rivalry reached its most explosive and chaotic moment yet, you cannot just look at the final buzzer. You have to go back to the very beginning of the evening when the psychological warfare started long before anyone touched the ball. Walking into this matchup, both players carried something heavy, but what they were carrying was completely different in nature. For Caitlin Clark, it was the weight of astronomical expectations, a standard so impossibly high that a 20-point, 7-assist performance could still generate headlines questioning whether she showed up. The bar set for Clark by media, by fans, and by the league itself operates on a completely different scale than any other player in women's basketball today. She has become the measuring stick, the lightning rod, and the main attraction all at once. Every single game she plays is evaluated like a championship final. For Angel Reese, the weight was different. It was the weight of a narrative she had spent months carefully constructing. For nearly a year, the debate had raged across television networks, radio shows, podcasts, and every sports bar in the country. Who truly controlled the story of women's basketball? Reese had positioned herself as the necessary counterbalance to Clark's dominance, the gritty, physical, unapologetically aggressive force that could match Clark's energy and steal the spotlight. She understood something important. Proximity to the biggest star in the league was its own kind of business strategy. Every segment that mentioned Reese alongside Clark elevated her profile.
Becky Hammond saying it's in her blood. None of that is fake. The offense is. And when the offense is that ugly, it curdles the whole product. She rises up alone under the rim and bricks the one she was put on earth to finish. But her offense. That's the most honest scouting report in America this morning. Angel Reese was such a bad offensive player as a kid. These jokes right.
Every manufactured debate put her face next to the most recognized name in women's sports. It was calculated, it was smart, and for a while it worked perfectly. But business strategies only survive when the product delivers, and what happened on this particular night would expose a crack in that strategy so wide that no amount of media coverage could paper over it. From the moment the ball went up, Angel Reese made her intentions crystal clear. She did not come to play a quiet, disciplined basketball game. She came to fight. Every single possession felt like a collision, a confrontation, a statement. She was jawing at the referees from the opening minutes, throwing sharp elbows in the paint, and turning toward the opposing bench to let them know exactly how she felt after every rebound she secured. When the cameras found her, she was talking, always talking, working the crowd, feeding off the hostility in the building, and making sure her presence was felt in every corner of that arena. Every time she grabbed a board, she made a show of it. Every time a whistle blew in her favor, she pointed to herself like she had personally willed the call into existence. She was playing directly to the moment, fully aware that the cameras were watching, fully aware that the narrative of the night was being written in real time, and determined to be the author of it. Caitlin Clark responded with something far more unsettling: silence, calm, absolute ice-cold focus. She did not engage in the trash talk, she did not fire back after whistle stoppages, she did not give Reese the emotional reaction that Reese was clearly hunting for. Instead, she played basketball, methodically, ruthlessly, and with a level of surgical precision that made the whole trash talk performance look almost embarrassing by comparison. Deep threes from logo range, transition passes so sharp and perfectly weighted that the defenders tripped over their own feet trying to recover. Every time Reese tried to drag the game into a street fight, Clark turned it into an art exhibition. That contrast, the screaming versus the silence, the theater versus the precision, set the entire tone for what was coming. As the game moved into its final minutes, everything tightened. The score stayed dangerously close in a way that made every possession feel like it carried life or death consequences. The crowd, already amped from the opening tip, reached a completely different level of intensity. You could feel it through the television screen. Every loose ball scramble drew a roar. Every missed shot drew a collective groan. The atmosphere inside that arena had moved far beyond a regular season basketball game. Clark continued to operate with that terrifying calmness that defines her best performances. Over the final stretch of regulation, she was orchestrating, creating, and finding angles that simply should not have existed against the defensive scheme being thrown at her. Over her last 11 games heading into this one, she had been averaging over 26 points per game and over 9 assists per game, numbers that belong in MVP conversations regardless of which league you were talking about. And yet, even with those numbers on the board, the game refused to break open. Reese was doing enough on the glass and around the paint to keep her team alive, and the tension refused to ease. With less than a minute remaining, the game was tied. The crowd was at an absolute fever pitch. Every timeout felt like a war council. Every substitution felt meaningful. And then the clock crept toward its final seconds, and the universe decided it was time to write the moment that would define this entire rivalry. With less than 15 seconds on the clock and the game perfectly tied, the ball was inbounded. The play broke down almost immediately. Defensive rotations scrambled, perimeter coverage collapsed in the chaos, and through pure instinct and the sheer scramble of the final possession, the ball found its way to exactly where Angel Reese needed it to be, right underneath the basket, 2 feet from the rim. Not a single defender between her and the most important 2 points of the game. This was the dream, the exact scenario every athlete rehearses in their backyard as a kid. Wide open, right at the rim, with the entire world watching and the game on the line. All she had to do was finish the most fundamental play in the sport. A simple, uncontested layup. The kind of shot she has made 10,000 times in practice. The kind of shot that requires 0 offensive creativity, 0 shot creation, and 0 degree of difficulty. You go up, you lay it in, you win. She elevated toward the rim. She rushed the release, and the entire arena watched in stunned, disbelieving silence as the ball hit the front of the iron, rolled awkwardly across the backboard, and bounced harmlessly into the hands of the defense. The buzzer sounded. The game was over. The easiest shot of her entire professional career. Wide open, 2 feet from the basket, game on the line, and it was gone. The initial reaction from the crowd was a massive involuntary gasp, that split second of collective shock where 20,000 people simultaneously processed what they had just witnessed. And then the pandemonium hit. But the real spectacle was not at the basket where the ball had just been rejected by gravity and physics. The real spectacle was happening at the other end of the floor, where Caitlin Clark was about to do something that would light the sports world completely on fire.
Caitlin Clark did not jog toward her bench. She did not high-five her teammates and head for the locker room. She stopped dead in her tracks on the hardwood, turned her head slowly across the court, found Angel Reese with her eyes, and then burst into full, uncontrollable theatrical laughter. Hands on her knees, head shaking, laughing so hard she could barely hold herself upright. pointing directly at Reese in a gesture that carried zero ambiguity and sent one crystal clear message to everyone watching. It was not subtle, it was not quiet, it was loud, theatrical, completely deliberate, and utterly merciless. After months of absorbing Reese's trash talk, the physical provocations, the camera performances, and the carefully constructed rivalry narrative, Clark chose this specific moment to respond. Not with words, not with a post-game press conference quote, but with laughter. Public, unfiltered, deeply personal laughter that hit Reese in front of 20,000 people and millions watching at home. The arena felt it immediately. The crowd, already in a frenzy from the missed shot, picked up on Clark's reaction and amplified it. The laughter spread from Clark to her teammates to the opposing bench sections to the general crowd itself. Within seconds, the venue had transformed into something that felt less like a sports arena and more like a coliseum of public humiliation. The chants started. The noise rose, and standing in the middle of it all was Angel Reese, realizing in real time exactly what was happening. Now here is where the debate splits the sports world directly down the middle. Did Clark go too far? Was openly pointing and laughing at a player's missed shot a violation of sportsmanship? Or after months of physical play, constant trash talk, and a rivalry fueled almost entirely by Reese's own aggressive energy, did Clark simply respond in the only language that had been spoken all season? Analysts immediately went to war over this question, but while that debate was being argued in studios across the country, the situation on the floor was escalating far beyond a philosophical discussion about sportsmanship. When Angel Reese looked up from the floor and understood what was happening, that she was being openly mocked on national television in front of the entire basketball world, something inside her broke completely. She did not just look upset. She did not take a deep breath and walk toward the tunnel. She went completely and totally unhinged. Witnesses on the court and sideline reported that Reese slammed the ball into the hardwood with enough raw force to send it launching 20 rows deep into the lower bowl seating. Her eyes were wide, her jaw was tight, and she was already moving, charging toward the officials with a level of fury that immediately alarmed everyone around her. She was screaming at the top of her lungs, demanding explanations that no referee on earth could have provided, because no referee was responsible for what had just happened. Her teammates rushed in immediately. Multiple players grabbed her, physically pulling her back, trying to create distance between her and the situation that was only going to get worse the longer she stayed on that floor. The coaching staff moved in from the bench area, reaching for her arms, her shoulders, speaking directly into her face in an attempt to bring her back from whatever emotional edge she was standing on. But Reese was tearing away from every grip. She was pulling free of the hands trying to restrain her, still screaming, expletives flying freely enough that the courtside microphones picked up every single syllable and broadcast them directly into living rooms across the country. The arena, already at full volume, rose even higher. The chanting got louder, the mockery became communal, and security moved in to escort Reese toward the tunnel before the situation could escalate any further. The damage, however, was already done. By the time she disappeared from the court, every camera in the building had captured the full sequence: the miss, the laugh, the meltdown. All of it preserved in high definition, ready to be clipped, shared, analyzed, and debated for days.
Sources near the tunnel area reported hearing the fallout continuing well into the locker room. Slamming lockers, raised voices, heated back and forth between players and coaching staff. The frustration of blowing a winnable game, combined with the psychological sting of being publicly humiliated by her most prominent rival, had created an absolute powder keg, and it had fully detonated. Notably, when reporters gathered for the post-game press conference and asked to speak with Reese, she did not appear. She sent no statement. She offered no explanation. After one of the most talked-about moments of her career, Angel Reese chose total silence, and in many ways, that silence said everything words could not.
Within minutes of the final buzzer, the sports world entered a state of total frenzy. Social media feeds flooded simultaneously with millions of posts, clips, reaction videos, and hot takes dissecting every single frame of the missed layup and Clark's devastating response. High-profile analysts abandoned their scheduled segments to weigh in. Former players chimed in from every platform available. The moment was everywhere, and it showed no signs of slowing down. But the most uncomfortable position belonged to ESPN. Coming into that weekend, the network had made a deliberate editorial decision. The plan was to celebrate Angel Reese. A major feature piece had been published, championing her as the greatest rebounder the women's game had seen since Dennis Rodman. A coronation built around her elite work on the glass, her double-doubles, her board numbers that genuinely deserved recognition. The network committed to the narrative. They dedicated the weekend to it. Come hell or high water, this was Angel Reese's moment. And then, the game was played. The feature celebrated everything that Reese genuinely does at an elite level. The rebounding instincts, the physicality on the boards, the Rodman comparisons that, in the context of pure glasswork, hold real merit. What the feature carefully avoided was everything else. The touch around the rim, the left-hand finishes, the scoring instinct that simply has not materialized at the professional level, the shot chart that, when examined honestly, looks less like a WNBA star and more like a participation certificate. The network had written the cathedral around the one elite thing she does, and then the game asked the rest of her game to show up, and it did not. The result was a jarring, uncomfortable collision between ESPN's pre-planned celebration and the reality that unfolded on the court. The broadcast panel found itself in the awkward position of calling Reese a catalyst, while the graphic on screen showed her shooting 3 of 10 from the field with 7 points. One commentator, with more candor than the rest, noted that when the player herself says she is playing badly and the network calls her a superstar, somebody is lying, and it is not the shooting percentage. The protection racket, as one analyst bluntly called it, had been fully exposed, and the timing could not have been more catastrophic. Here is where this moment becomes bigger than just one game, one missed shot, or one laugh that went viral. This is a permanent turning point in the psychology of this rivalry, and possibly in the broader landscape of women's basketball itself.
For years, rivalries in professional sports have operated within certain understood parameters. Competition gets fierce, trash talk happens, physical play escalates. But there is usually an invisible ceiling, a point where mutual respect, or at least professional courtesy, keeps things within recognizable bounds. What happened between Clark and Reese has blown through that ceiling entirely. This is no longer polite competition with a rivalry label slapped on it for marketing purposes. This has devolved into something genuinely hostile, genuinely personal, and genuinely unpredictable. Caitlin Clark did not just win a basketball game. She delivered a psychological blow that carries real, lasting weight. Every single time Angel Reese steps onto the floor from this moment forward, she carries something new with her. Every time she receives the ball in the paint during clutch minutes, the ghost of that missed layup lives in her hands. Every time the game is close in the final seconds, 20,000 people laughing will be echoing somewhere in the back of her mind. That is the kind of scar that does not heal quickly. Athletes spend entire careers trying to shake off one defining moment of failure, and Reese's moment has been captured in perfect clarity, replayed on every platform imaginable, and mocked by the woman she built her entire professional brand around opposing. And Clark, who was already in MVP conversation before this game, has now added something beyond statistics to her profile. She has demonstrated complete psychological dominance, not just over Reese, but over the moment itself. While Reese was slamming balls, screaming at officials, and being physically restrained by teammates, Clark was laughing, genuinely, freely, and without a single concern about optics or consequences. That kind of confidence, The willingness to publicly humiliate a rival at the exact moment of their most painful failure sends a message to every player in the league, not just Reese. Over the last stretch of the season, Clark had been averaging over 26 points per game, over 9 assists per game, and carrying her team with a consistency that demanded serious recognition. The MVP conversation was already happening. This game did not just add to that conversation, it reframed it entirely. As for the rivalry itself, the question the sports world cannot stop asking is deceptively simple. Can it survive? Not in the sense of whether both players will continue to compete against each other. They will, because the schedule demands it. But can it return to anything resembling normal competitive basketball? Or has the psychological damage done in those final seconds permanently altered the nature of every future matchup? Can Reese recover mentally from the most public choke of her career? Can she walk back into that same arena, face the same crowd, and finish the shot that her hands refused on the biggest stage? And if she does recover, what does Clark do next? Because Clark has now shown that she will not just beat you on the scoreboard, she will stand at center court and make sure you feel every single point of it. The answer to those questions will define not just this rivalry, but the entire era of women's basketball that both of these players are shaping in real time. One player is building a legacy on dominance and fearlessness. The other is standing at a crossroads, trying to decide whether the business strategy of proximity to greatness is still worth the price that comes with it when the cameras are rolling and the shot refuses the rim. One thing is completely certain. The next time these two share a floor, the building will be electric from the opening tip. Every possession will feel loaded. Every camera will be pointed at both of them simultaneously. And somewhere in the back of Angel Reese's mind, no matter how much preparation goes into it, no matter how many hours of practice she logs in the off-season, that missed layup and that laugh will be waiting. The rivalry is not over, but the psychological scoreboard has never been clearer. Drop your thoughts in the comments right now. Did Caitlin Clark cross the line by pointing and laughing at her rival's worst moment? Or did Angel Reese write this exact ending for herself after months of trash talk and theatrics? And more importantly, can Reese ever truly come back from this, or has Clark already won the war that matters most? Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because this feud is nowhere near finished and you do not want to miss a single moment of what comes next.